This is Flight Training the Way I See It with Mike Schiffler. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Flight Training the Way I See It with your host Mike Schiffler, and we talk about news, opinion, and also pro tips. So we've always got those for you. So today's episode, this is the last of August today, so I'm getting with it to get this stuff out the door, but have some things here to go over. There are two new draft ACs out for comment regarding the Sport Pilot stuff. That's been big talk here lately, so we're going to look at that here in a second. And then, as of October 22nd, there'll be no more Sport Pilot proficiency checks in airplanes or helicopter categories. That's changing. So we need to talk about that because if you're looking to do something like that, your time is running out. After the 22nd, you're going to have to go through a DPE or ASI at the FSDO. Also, NAFI Summit is approaching. National Association of Flight Instructors has a summit, a conference. It's in Akron, Ohio, and it's coming up soon. We'll talk to you about that and tell you where you can find out more information about it. Also, one of our products, Pilot ACS SmartStudy PRO, is just about ready. We're just putting the last little bits on it. A lot of the videos and stuff and audio is in QC. So we will have to make, I'm sure, some fixes to that, but we anticipate within a week or so we should have that out the door, and I know some of you have been waiting for that. So we'll talk about that, and we'll explain what that is as we go through the show. Also, we'll have pro tips for you. So we've got 3 of those. Good ones this week, I think. So they're always good, but these ones I like a lot. So anyway, we'll talk about those. So let's first talk about these new 2 draft ACs that are out for comment, for public comment. So due to these significant changes in the Sport Pilot regulations, the FAA has updated 2 advisory circulars, which are now available in draft form, and you can find them just by Googling this AC number with the word draft next to it. So AC 61-146 and AC 61-65 kilo. Now I'll say these again at the end as we go through so that if you didn't get a chance to, you're in a place where you couldn't jot it down or whatever, you'll be able to. So the first AC 61-146, does a good job of clarifying what planes a Sport Pilot can fly under these new rules and the certification criteria for them. So it's a good basis document to have around. It's not terribly long, but it goes through basically everything you'd need to know as a flight instructor or a Sport Pilot or a private pilot looking to fly on your driving license, that kind of thing, with these new airplanes. So this is going to be a great reference for you, and especially when you have private commercial ATP certificate holders come through your door or come to you who now have a medical issue and they still have a driving license and haven't had a medical denied, deferred, or otherwise revoked. They're going to be able to fly things like Cessna 182s with only their driving license. Yes, that's possible. They'll be able to fly under the Sport Pilot privileges, which have been expanded a little bit. Unfortunately, the passenger carrying one didn't go up. We're still stuck at 1 passenger. But in general, we got a lot out of this new rule. So we'll have more to say about that next month, in particular October when it hits. So the other AC is AC 61-65 kilo. The previous, or the current version, is 61-65 Juliet, which was updated not long ago. I believe it was October last year to reflect the CFI regulation changes. Well, that one's going to be kicked out the door in October, and this AC has it was been updated in many places, primarily in the Sport Pilot instructor sections. Fortunately, in this draft version, at least there's some where the changes are. There's a big black sidebar running vertically next to the change, like the FAA likes to show you where the changes are, where they made a change. That you can find again by Googling these things and downloading them. You can start getting used to these ACs because it's going to take effect on October 22nd, 2025, along with Sport Pilot instructor rule changes. Now again, the ACs are AC 61-146, and that addresses Sport Pilots and Sport Pilot instructors, privileges, regulations, and AC 61-65 kilo, which is basically the endorsements AC that flight instructors use to endorse people to do various things. So that's coming out. Okay, we got that. And so while we're still talking about this, as of October 22nd, 2025, no more Sport Pilot proficiency checks in airplanes or helicopters are going to be allowed. Currently, that's allowed. So let's talk about that a little bit. So one thing that's changing, which will make things a little more complicated, is the ability to use 2 CFIs and add Sport Pilot privileges in a category that you want to be able to fly with Sport Pilot privileges. So what that means is, let's say you have either a Sport Pilot certificate, a private pilot, an ATP, a commercial, and you decide you want to fly something else that's in the sport category, like powered parachute, maybe seaplane, maybe rotorcraft, gyrocopter, something like that. In the past, all you needed to do is find 2 CFIs, one CFI to do the training for you, and one to do the proficiency check using the Sport Pilot PTS. And as long as that's cleared, then they would make an endorsement in your logbook saying you have that privilege, and then they would submit the paperwork to the FAA, and that would be updated with them, and you'd have that right away. Well, they changed that because of the breadth and scope of airplanes you're going to be able to fly. They believe all that needs to be a practical test if it's going to be in an airplane or a helicopter. So for those of you, for example, Raul Salazar is up in Vero Beach, Florida. He does gyrocopters. If you came to him and you said, I have airplane ratings, whatever level you have, and I want to get Sport Pilot privileges in a gyrocopter, gyroplane, then he would be able to do that with 2 CFIs still, even after the rule changes. But we couldn't go the other way. I couldn't take one of our old students or pilots who's a gyroplane, maybe at the commercial or private pilot level, and then do Sport Pilot privileges in an airplane with 2 CFIs. That now requires a DPE or an aviation safety inspector to do that. So these new regulations don't allow for this for airplanes or helicopters, as I've said. So you still have a bit of time to do it that way. So if you do it right now that way, using 2 CFIs, you'll be able to add airplane privileges. And then when that new regulation kicks in, you'll be able to fly those bigger and badder airplanes or helicopters that are there. So if you're thinking about doing something like this, I'd get right busy with it. That's also going to apply for the instructor rating. So currently, if you're a Sport Pilot instructor or Subpart H instructor for a different category, like maybe helicopter, and you want to do airplane, and you get an airplane rating, well then, to do the CFI part of that, you only need 2 CFIs, one to do the training and the other to do the proficiency check, and you have Sport Pilot instructor privileges then. That's going away too for airplane and helicopter. So get busy if you want that, if you want to get on that. Okay, on an entirely different topic, NAFI Summit is approaching. NAFI is the National Association of Flight Instructors, and they've been around for about 50 years, and for the past 3 years, they've been doing a summit, which is a conference with speakers, breakout sessions, that kind of thing. This year's summit, the third one, is going to be September the 21st to the 23rd at the MAPS Air Museum in Akron, Ohio. Now, the full schedule is available at nafisummit.org. You can see what's there. This is the third summit, like we said, and last year's summit was delayed due to a hurricane that came through Daytona Beach. And this year, it looks like we're going to be on time. The summit concentrates on topics relevant to flight instructors and DPEs. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend this year due to scheduling conflicts, but I will be able to review the presentations afterwards. And we will feature an article in this newsletter and the video podcast, Flight Training the Way I See It, on the key elements that occurred in September, see what the good takeaways are, and that'll be in our next newsletter. So look out for that, and if you can, get up there to the NAFI Summit. And now just a little bit about us. The Private Pilot ACS SmartStudy PRO product is almost ready. So in case you're not familiar, this product is designed for private pilots in training or preparing for a flight review. It's made to be listened to without needing to look at the video. For example, when you're driving. So we take the entire Private Pilot Airplane Single Engine Land ACS and go through each knowledge, risk management, and skill element, telling you what you need to know about each one. Then also there's a companion PDF that's available for every single one of those tasks. There's over 40 of them, which you can review then when you have the time. The audio does include video, and as I was narrating it anyway, so I just go ahead and recorded some video. So you can see the video when you can or if you want to. But I was careful not to rely on you needing to see an image or a video to understand. So however, if you're in a place where you can watch the videos or you have that option, you can also view the companion PDFs. This will get you ready for a lesson. You can look at what your instructor is going to do and look at those specific ACS elements, tasks, and you can listen to those. And then you could also do that on your way to the airport. You could do that on your way back from the airport as a recap, right? And it'll also be a very good comprehensive way to prepare for your oral exam when that time comes. All the while, when you're on your way to or from a flight lesson, or in a car, and in some place where you can't really see video. So I just finished making changes to 6 videos that editing gave to me to complete because I made some mistakes in the audio, so I've completed those. And then I'm going through about 6 of the PDF companions still remain to be done that it looks like I have to do, so I will do those. And I'm expecting to have those done by Monday, which is September the 1st. And then, of course, we're going out to QC to have about 5-6 people listening to these videos and making any comments for changes or functionality, all that kind of thing. So I'm expecting the release of this course to be in the 1st or 2nd week of September. So if you're waiting for that, there you go. You will get an email from us when it's released. Now we can finish out with the pro tips. So these are not bad. So number 1 is that training has inertia to overcome. When you stop training, it becomes harder to get back into it. You lose time and you lose money due to repeated lessons or review sessions, those kind of things. So to save as much as possible and to minimize the impact of time, stay in training until you have your CFI and CFII. A lot of times what happens, people get their CFI, they get hired by someplace if they'll even hire you without the CFII. And then all of a sudden you want to get your CFII. Now you got to stop. You got to go somewhere or train after hours or whatever it's going to be to get this II thing. And it's going to be at the expense of the students or the number of students you can take on. So that's why most companies want you to be IIs, because they don't want you to have to stop. I gave you 6 students. Why aren't you finishing 6 students? Well, because I need to finish my II. It's not a very good answer. So training has inertia. Like these projects, I stopped the SmartStudy PRO project for about a month or 2, and it took me at least 4 days to get ramped up to do it again. So there you go. Tip number 2, the minimum number of trim changes in an airplane, an elevator, occur when the airplane's attitude and airspeed are stable. If the speed or flight path is changing and you're trimming during this time, you may need to make numerous trim adjustments. Call it chasing the trim wheel. If you wait until the attitude and speed are stable, you'll need to make only 1 or 2 trim adjustments. Now, this may be harder to do in a heavy airplane because sometimes you got to trim through things because control pressure is pretty heavy. But if you just minimize that to the extent that you can, or be aware of that, and say, well, the final trim change I'm going to make when the speed and attitude is stable, then you won't be chasing the trim as much, because that can rob you of a lot of time and a lot of mental energy, constantly trimming the airplane. You see people doing it all the time, constantly trimming the airplane, constantly trimming, then all the other stuff goes away, falls apart, especially for IFR. The third pro tip is not all cross-controlled stalls are created equal. So people are really afraid of these. And the cross-controlled stall, demonstration stall, could be required on a CFI test. Now let's talk about this. A slipping stall is benign. So if you're in a slipping stall and you stall the airplane, it's going to be a benign situation. But a skidding stall is definitely not. Now here's a key point. When an airplane stalls and then spins, it will always do so in the direction of applied rudder. So if you have rudder applied to the left, the airplane's going to spin to the left. When the airplane's slipping, the wing opposite to the direction of the applied rudder will be below the horizon. So it means that you can imagine you banked over to the right, you pushed in left rudder to stop the turn. Now you have the wing to the right below the horizon, and you have left rudder in there. So when you stall, the propensity to spin would be towards the left, to the left, right? It would be to the left. But that means the wing has to come up through the horizon, through level first, and then you got to keep all those inputs in there to cause it to go the other way. So you have time, and the aircraft will actually level itself first as it comes to level, and it would continue on if you kept the control pressures in there. But a skid is different. When you have an airplane that's skidding, then you have direction of rudder applied in where the low wing is. So basically, if you're turning to the right, and the wing is now below the horizon, the right wing is below the horizon, and you have right rudder in there skidding. Now, when you stall the airplane's going to spin in the direction of applied rudder. The wing is already below the horizon, so it's not going to come up the other way. It's going to go over and into the spin. So the thing to take away from this is don't be afraid of slipping an airplane, even at low speeds. Be definitely afraid of skidding an airplane and letting it stall. And that's all I got for you. Relatively short one this month, but we'll do a bit more next month. There's a lot of news coming out from Oklahoma City about various things, and this mosaic stuff. They'll be shoring that up even more. So I have a lot more to talk about as the September and October come along. But that's it for this month, this August 2025 video newsletter and podcast of Flight Training the Way I See It. This has been a production of Flight Training the Way I See It. News, tips, and opinion.